Hey there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre. I recognize this is probably a super niche topic, and but I have I had so many difficulties doing that I thought it might if it can help a couple of people, and I will be satisfied. So what are we going to talk about in here is how to export data from an Azure SQL database. So basically, I needed to extract some data because I have one of my consulting client that is moving from Azure to a more like I would not say on premise, but let's say it's not really working for them anymore. And yes, I mean we kind of see a small movement at the moment. Where company are declouding themselves a little bit, depending on what they are doing and things like that. But yes, I would say that it's a little bit about that. So how would you go about doing this? Well, the first option, which is the only one that I haven't done for lots of reasons, but there seems to be a way to export a backpack from the portal itself. So what is a backpack? Well, for old Microsoft SQL Server people in here, that might listen to that, it's similar to the good old back file when we were running MS SQL on premise, for example, and things like that. So it's supposed to be a full backup, and Microsoft is offering a Docker image actually. Of a SQL server that supposedly is able to open that. So why I haven't done that? Well, first of all, there's too many playing around with the Azure portal for me. I just cannot do that. So maybe this option is a quick win for lots of people. For me, it's involved too many GUI that I don't really like to play with and things like that. So I don't do that. But this option exists. The Docker image, we've used that a couple of years ago, and not in production, but it was in development. So I mean, it seems to work. So yes, this option is valid if you if you are able to go in the portal and understand how to extract this thing, and well, you might be fine. So another option would be using the BCP command, which is probably the bulk copy program, I think it would be called, but this is published by Microsoft. And it's available in a package. If you are on a Debian-based Linux system, then you can do an apt install with the MS SQL-tools package. So this is part of this. We will see. We will see how it goes. Another option would be to use good old code to connect to the database and fetch the data and export that in some way. So that is what I tried first, to be frank. So I'm a software engineer, so I wanted something that would be easy for me to run multiple times, because this export is not just a one-time operation. So it will have to execute multiple times, and it will have to to do a first bulk import into the new system, but it needs to run multiple times after that to do some diffs, and so yes, I mean let's try that. So maybe Go. I mean, I really like Go. It's not a surprise. And I will take this time, by the way, to do a small aside. If you like those kind of contents, so this is my style a little bit. Talking about code, making sure we are focusing on the right thing and not having too much fluff in here. So if you like that, I do have 2 courses that I'm selling. I do host a podcast on Go as well, which is called Go Podcast. So all the links will be available on the show notes, and there's a direct discount for the course as well if you are interested. I have one on building SaaS with Go, and one with the last one is called Build a Google Analytics in Go. So basically, I go and I build a fully functional website analytics in Go, TypeScript, Docker. There's some Postgres, there is some ClickHouse. I mean, it's a 7-hour course. All right, enough with that. So Microsoft have this. They have a package. They have a driver for Microsoft SQL, which is very nice because when I started Go back in 2014, there were just one package. Which were working very nice for local SQL. Well, when I say local, I mean on-premise local SQL server, but there were some major issues with the Azure SQL back in the time, and just to tell a little story, which I might be a little bit ashamed of, but I was a .NET developer in another life. So yes, in my early career, from 2001 to 2010, whatever, I was heavy and heavy C# developers, .NET and whatnot. So the first SaaS that I built were actually hosted on they were .NET based, first of all, which might be funny for some people, but they were also hosted on it was App Harbor at first, which was interesting. Fun fact: App Harbor H1 back in the days was something like Azure done right or something like that, because Azure it was not very good at first, to be frank, but it was decent-ish. It was okay. I haven't seen it in a lifetime, I would say, but back in the days, so I was deploying my software there. So long story short, at some point, I got bored, or I got tired of JavaScript. I was working on the application was called LeadFuse. Actually, it's still in production today. I'm not part of the company anymore, but I was the CTO, and at some point I was having so many difficulties with Node and JavaScript that I said, screw that, to be polite, and let's rewrite the data access part of this application, the API, in Go. And I decided to go with Azure SQL, and the driver back in the day was not very good with Azure SQL. So as you might imagine, well, that was not the best choice I did in my lifetime with SaaS. But suffice to say that this driver, now published by Microsoft, is good. It is very good, actually. So all right, so if you don't really know database /SQL in Go, well, this is not really a video to explain that, but suffice to say that it's exactly like the other driver. So I quickly did a quick function just to return me all the tables in the database, so I have something to work with. And after that, I decided to use an old project of mine, which was it was more like a prototype. It's not really a real package or a real library that. But it was called Scully, and I was playing with dynamic query back then, and I think I wrote that around, I would say, 2018 or 2019, whatever, and I haven't really touched that in years. And now I was interesting to know about would it work? Would it work for my current use case, which is I don't want to create a structure and go for each database table that I have. It would be too long, and it's not the goal of this project. The goal of the goal of the task that I needed to do was to extract the data from Azure SQL as quickly as I could. So we can see in here an execute dynamic query function, and basically what it does, it just takes a SQL statement, and basically it will run the thing and return a map, basically. So each row is a slice of map, and so yeah, you can think of having the key being the name of the field, and the value being an interface, which can take all the types. So it was a quick way to run some dynamic query without having to create some structure. So I thought, I mean, maybe it will work. And it did. To be honest, this worked, but yeah, there's three issues that I encountered. But just to return to this driver, so this driver was executing very fast. It was nice. So the system that I am exporting does not really have a huge amount of data. So it's still around 4 or 5 gigabytes of data. So it's not, it's not a huge system or whatever. But still, this driver was running very great. This query prevented me from having to write any kind of structure. But again, I mean, there were UUID in the database, which was kind of an easy fix, because if you think about that, when you are receiving some interface, you can always do some select, some switch on the type, and I were able to handle the slice of bytes, and in that case, I would use the UUID that from bytes function, and it was working. But the two other issues were more problematic, to be frank. So handling null values in the database with this execute query was not very practical, if I can say that. And the major issue was the field header order. So since it's a map that is returned, you might not know, but in Go, when you have maps and you are iterating across all the keys and values, there's no guarantee that it will always be in the same order and things like that. So I mean, it was not very good for the output of this thing, which it needs to be a CSV file. So, I mean, a CSV file is easier when the columns are always in the same order. So my next thought, well, what about an ORM? So maybe there could be a way for me to just point something to the existing database, generate some things, and have a connection. And I said, why not try Django for that? Because at the end of the day, the application that I'm building is also Django. So I created a separate project, connected the database, and ran the Python manage.py with the inspect.db, which basically just connect to the database, and inspect all the tables and spit out some models, some Django models. So and it works, but again, this is impossible to it could not even handle the smallest of the tables. It was painfully slow. It would have never completed execution even after multiple days. It was like crazy slow. So you still need Unix ODBC for that. And the reason why I'm talking about all those things is they might work for you. I mean, your mileage might vary, of course. And I'm just trying to to have you take a shortcut. So if you need to extract some data from Azure SQL, well, I mean, don't do that. Don't do the Django way. If you have a lot of tables, I don't think that Go is also a good fit. So what about BCP then? I did not really wanted to do that because I have been bitten by Microsoft so many times, and I was like, oh well. and you know, I mean, you just do a BCP dash H for getting the help. So there's no manual that is installed when you install the package. So this program is part of the MS SQL dash tools package. And yeah, so I mean, there's no manual, and the help file is not the help file, but when you do bcp-help, well, it's just it's just a bunch of flags with a very very thin description. But I mean, it's supposed to do the job. So let's try that. So I create this bash file. So basically, this bash file will read from a tables.table. So at the extreme end of this, we are sending this file into this while loop. So it will basically read one line at a time. So each table will be on this file. We will see that on the next slide. But basically, we are just removing this file if we have exported before. We run the BCP command, and we will talk more about the flags that we have here. For now, let's just focus on this thing is working, and you might if you need to extract some data from Azure SQL and you are kind of stuck like I was, you can basically start with that, and this thing will work. So I'm using iconv to convert the UTF-16 to UTF-8. This makes no sense, but I mean, again, Microsoft. We are using the truncate command in here. So again, I keep saying that also in my podcast always, and on Twitter and whatnot. I mean, those GNU core utils programs will make you a better programmer. So if you don't know that, if you don't use the terminal, you are a programmer. I'm certain you will find it very interesting once you start to run a couple of commands and there, and you see what kind of power you will get from those things. I mean, those things are there forever, and they are still part of my day to day, to be frank. And I'm certain that all programmer would be better just by knowing them. So all right, so the last line is we will have a clean file.go. And there's a reason for that, because the BCP command is supposed to export some CSV, but I mean, as soon as you have some weird things in some data field in your database, the CSV will not be compatible, or at least it will not be compatible for the Python CSV module, because this is where I ultimately needed that CSV file. And I had so many problem, back and forth between this BCP. So that's why we do have this -t and -r. We will see that in two slides. But again, this works really well. This works really fast-ish. I have some data table with text field that contains a lot of data. And it's all chunk into batch of 1000, which is nice for the server and for the global network as well, and things like that. So I mean, this is working. So if you want to take that, this is going to work for you, I promise. So you will need a tables.data file, and in there you just need to have all the tables that you will want to export, and that's mostly it. So if you have a lot of tables, then I encourage you to take the function in the earlier slide that I had, or any kind of way that you can just export some tables there into a file. Could be very quick. So once you have that, then yeah, let's have a quick look at those option or flags that we have. So again, like I was saying, I had so many difficulties with the BCP program. I don't know. For me, at least, maybe it's just me. And again, I mean, I'm just a standard software engineer that is trying to do his task and whatnot. So sometimes, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's me, and maybe you will try the BCP command and you will have no issue at all without changing those things. I could not. It was not working. Maybe it's Microsoft. Why are they not exporting a standard CSV file? This if it's that. Maybe it's Python, maybe it's the CSV Python, because I was also testing with Go and the CSV, and sometimes the CSV package in Go were, all fine opening the CSV, but the one on Python was not. Crazy stuff. I mean, we are just talking about a small, small, maybe not small, but, a standard CSV files, couple of, let's say, I don't know, let's say you have 50 table, 100 table, whatever. It should not be a problem. CSV is a done problem. It's a fixed problem. Why do I need to bother with that? But it's always part of our job. Things are rarely working, like you expect them to work the first time and things like that. There's always some things. And now you add the factor of this thing should be done quickly, and I cannot really, it's not like I can pass 2 weeks on that thing and have the perfect pipeline and whatnot. I just want my freaking data out of an Azure SQL database. So the -d flag is like I'm saying here, it's just to change the column delimiter. So by default, it's I think it's a tab. If you are not specifying anything, I think the BCP command is outputting some kind of tab delimited file. So yeah. So in my case, if we return to that, I use a character that I knew that was not going to be part of my data. So this is something that you might need to keep in mind. So same for the -r. So the -r is the same thing, but we are just changing the delimiter for the row. And this is strange because normally, well, what do you expect from a tool that is supposed to output CSV? If there is some character in a field that is either the field delimiter or the column delimiter or the row delimiter, it's supposed to quote those things. This is a CSV format. The standard is that if there's going to be some kind of weird things in the value of a field, it should be inside of double quotes. And I had so many difficulties with that because there's some fields in my database that I was exporting that do have a lot of carriage return. There's some fields that do have opening double quotes and they don't have any closing double quotes and things like that. And this BCP program, with the experience that I did, it's not very CSV friendly. It does not seem to, I don't know. It does not seem to respect the standards and whatnot. So I had to come up with something that is extremely weird, extremely strange, but damn, I need this thing to work at some point. So I changed the delimiter for those two things. The -q, I don't even know what it is. I mean, in the documentation, it's exactly what I'm printing here. It's just saying quoted identifier, and I thought it was something regarding the double quotes. It has nothing to do with that. It seems to. I don't know what it is. It's yeah, and the -w, well, it's to make sure that we can export some Unicode value and things like that. But again, Microsoft, and they are exporting a UTF-16. So yeah, so I needed to use the iConvert program to convert from UTF-16 to UTF-8, truncate all the null value because they were outputted as the character 0 actually, and that causes some small issues and whatnot. But I mean, at the end of the day, this works. But now we do have a super weird CSV file with the column separator being the I don't even know what is the name of that thing, but yes, and now we Python is not able to open a CSV file if the row delimiter are not line feeds, or carriage return and line feed and whatnot. So I had to create a small Go program, and I did it with Go because it was way faster than Python, to be frank, for string manipulation for large file. So it's just crazy to have to do that. I'm sure it's me. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. It's probably me. I don't care, but I mean, at the end of the day, those kind of things should have worked. I should not have to fiddle or change any kind of row delimiter or column delimiter and whatnot and write this. But again, I mean, this Go file is working. It's basically just receiving the file that was exported by BCP, that was that has been converted into UTF-8 and all of that, and I'm just replacing. So since Python wants me to provide a \r/n row delimiter, I need to now change all the all the line feed in my real data, and use this O with the tréma in French. So this is a French letter. I don't even know how to say that in English. Maybe you don't even have a word for that. I don't care about that at this point. This O is just a way to change all the line feeds, so the Python CSV importer will not complain about things like that, and I'm just rechanging that on Python before inserting to the database back to a \n. This is just crazy. I mean, wow. So again, I mean, I if you have to export data, maybe you maybe you will have a better experience than what I lived in the last week. But at least if you do encounter some of those problems, then you have a small starting point at least to play around, and maybe it will help a couple of people, hopefully. All right. See you next week.